Well, let's go now to the independent Senator Jacqui Lambie. Jacqui, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So we will start off with Jim Chalmers. He's giving a speech later on today and it's all about super, and basically it's to lock it up so you can't access it until your retirement, which was the original plan of it. But what do you make of that you shouldn't be able to access it before then?
They should look up those admin fees they're charging us all too while they're at it, Pete. My goodness me. I tell you what, the amount of money it takes to generate something to come through your Gmail is absolutely amazing, the price on that. But seriously, look, I think that if people are stuck during their lifetime, they should be able to access their super. From somebody that knows that nearly lost their house after fighting Department of Veterans Affairs for over 10 years and throwing everything I possibly could and winning a case against them, had I not been able to access my super in full, I can assure you this much, I would have lost my house and I would have been so much further behind, and my sons would not have had a roof over their head. It's not as black and white as Jim Chalmers would like to think it is. And if people are coming into tough times over the next few years, and we need to give them a hand and give them 10 or 15% of their super to keep them going, mate, I tell you, we need to look at this, and we need to look at this properly, because it's just not black and white, Pete.
Okay, well, so as he's announced it so far, you'd be against that?
I certainly would. I don't think tightening of those rules right now, if we're going into recession, is going to be very helpful whatsoever. There's a cost of living problem out there, and I'm yet to hear him sending anything that's solvable out there to try and fix that with people, and is going to get worse. So it's silly like he wants to talk about everything else, mate, but what he's sitting in front of him, Pete, and it's a cost of living. And it's knocking people over for a six. Okay,
well, if he wants to make superannuation a central theme, and he is opening it up for debate over the next couple of months, what changes would you like to see?
Look, I hope he can open it up for debate. I don't know how many inquiries and that we've had on super over the past and whatever else. There is so much instability out there. What I would like to see is that things are not tightened too much, so if people need to access that, and that's going to be better for them in the long run and more profitable than it just sitting in a super bank account, then they should be able to use that, mate. That is what I want to be able to see.
Do you have concerns, though, and this happened during the pandemic when super funds were released for some folks, that they went and used it to gamble? I mean, would you have concerns about that happening again?
Absolutely, I would have concerns about that. As a matter of fact, I have quite a few concerns about the things that happen over the COVID period, especially when it comes to our economics. But once again, we do this when we leave a war. Instead of getting a table together and going back through and looking at everything in the past now and what we could have got better, we haven't done that. You have a Senate Select Committee for COVID that you had up there. I suggest you reopen that, because we need to go back over and work out where we went wrong, especially in payments, so it doesn't happen again.
He went on to say, in words to this effect, Ian, and he'll outline this in his speech too, Jim Chalmers, that it was effectively a disaster for super, having people access super during the pandemic. Would you go that far?
I know that some people abuse that, but I've got a feeling, mate, if we had a look at the numbers, that the majority of people use that constructively and for the best way possible, and that was to get through the pandemic, especially while they were waiting for wages or they didn't have jobs. This is when we should be able to use our super, when it isn't a financial emergency or a health emergency, and you should be able to tap into your own super to be able to help you through that.
And that's a great story, a great example you provided there in your first answer, Jacqui, how it was a matter of urgency that you needed that. Really good point to make there, and I'm sure you're not alone on that point. Just finally, we've got the Prime Minister in WA today, Jacqui. Mayors are calling on him over there to address crime and social issues. We've been reporting on this morning, and the mayors claim that this follows the removal of cashless debit cards. What do you make of that, and what changes perhaps need to be made on that front, whether it's an overruling or not?
Maybe before you make changes over such a big thing that had mostly a positive impact on those smaller communities, and you go out there because everybody says, hey, we don't want this, and maybe that is not the right way forward. If you'd done your homework properly, we would not be in this mess, and you had nothing to put in its place. I warned them 3 months ago that this would happen, Pete, that it would fall apart, and they weren't listening. Sometimes it is time for tough love, and tough love needs to be installed. And that's what that cashless debit card was doing in some of those communities out there, and it was working really well. So you know what? Go back in there, because it is time now for the Albanese government to make tough decisions. This is their year for tough decisions. This is either going to make you or break you. This is going to be one of the toughest you make, and the voice, and that's where we're heading.
Right. So that needs to go back to how it was in your view.
He needs to go out there and tell us what he's going to do. If he doesn't want to put that back in place, what he's going to do to replace that, because quite frankly, we have got no time left. We've seen the disaster in the impact that's had on by removing that in less than 3 months. You know, I'm hearing from people in Western Australia. I've visited there many terms over my 10 years. So listening to what is going on, both top end and bottom end, that is Kununurra as well, is absolutely shameful right now, because you thought removing that cashless debit card, because you did not do your homework properly and you did not look into it and didn't have a replacement to put in its place, has spelled absolute disaster in a matter of 2 or 3 months. Is shameful.